Welcome to my channel. Let me ask you something. Have you ever dreamed of living in a big city like New York and getting your very first job there? Maybe you have seen New York in movies. Bright lights, tall buildings, busy streets, and people walking fast with coffee in their hands. It looks exciting, right? But let me tell you the truth. Living in New York is not only about fun and dreams, it is also about challenges, fears, and learning lessons the hard way. And today, I want to share my story with you. The story of my first job in New York. Why am I telling you this story? Because I know many of you are learning English, and sometimes you feel scared. You feel like you are not ready. You feel like your English is not good enough. I felt the same when I came to New York. I was nervous, shy, and afraid to speak. But my first job taught me something important. You don't need to be perfect to start. You just need courage to take the first step. In this video, I will tell you everything. How I arrived in New York with big dreams. How I struggled to find a job. How I failed in my first interview. How I made mistakes at work. And how slowly, step by step, I learned not just English, but also life lessons. My story is full of ups and downs, and I want you to stay with me till the end, because every chapter has something useful for you. You will learn English words, sentences, and also motivation to keep going in your own journey. So sit back, listen carefully, and imagine yourself walking through the streets of New York with me. This is not only my story, this is your story too, because every learner goes through the same struggles. And if I could survive my first job in New York, you can survive anything. Chapter 1. The Dream and the Fear. I still remember the very first day I arrived in New York. It felt like I had stepped into another world. The moment I got out of the airport and walked outside, I looked up and saw buildings so tall that they almost touched the sky. Everywhere I turned, there were bright lights, big screens, and cars moving fast. The streets were crowded with people rushing in different directions, each one looking busy and important. Some were talking on their phones, some were holding coffee cups, and others were walking so quickly that I could hardly keep up. The city was alive, full of energy, and I felt something I had never felt before, like I was standing in the middle of a dream. My heart was beating fast. I had always seen New York in movies and pictures, but now I was really here. I thought to myself, this is the place where people come to chase their dreams. This is the place where I will change my life. I felt excited. That is our first word for today. Excited. Excited means happy and full of energy, looking forward to something. And that is exactly how I felt on that day. But as I started to walk through the city, something else started to grow inside me. At first, I was amazed by everything: the tall buildings, the yellow taxis, the sound of sirens in the background. But then I noticed how fast everyone was moving. People didn't stop to smile or talk. Everyone seemed to know where they were going, and I did not. I had no map, no plan, and most importantly, my English was very weak. Suddenly, my excitement began to mix with another feeling: nervous. Nervous means worried or not calm. I was nervous because I didn't know how to survive in this city. I came to New York with big dreams. I wanted to build a better life, earn money, and improve my English. I wanted to become strong and independent. I wanted to stand on my own feet. These dreams gave me hope, and hope is another important word. Hopeful means believing that something good will happen in the future. Even though I was nervous, I was also hopeful. I believed that if I worked hard, if I kept trying, I would find a way. But dreams are not enough. The truth is, when I looked around, I realized I was completely alone. I had no family, no friends, and no one to guide me. I was in a city with millions of people, yet I felt lonely. Imagine standing in the middle of a busy street, hearing thousands of voices, cars honking, and music playing, but not understanding much of it. That was me. I could not understand the fast English people were speaking. Sometimes I caught a few words, but then the rest sounded like noise. And that is when fear entered my heart. Fear is a strong word. Scared means afraid, worried that something bad might happen. And yes, I was scared. I was scared of failing, scared of not finding a job, scared of being lost in a city so big that I felt like an ant among giants. The more I thought about it, the more the fear grew inside me. This is the contrast I want you to see on one side. I was excited, hopeful, full of dreams. On the other side, I was nervous, scared, and lost. And maybe you have felt this too. When you start something new, like learning English, you feel excited at first. You imagine yourself speaking fluently, traveling, and making new friends. But then reality hits you. You face difficulties, you don't understand everything, and you feel scared. My story in New York was exactly like that, a battle between excitement and fear. That first night, I sat by the window of the small room I had rented. Outside, I could hear the constant sound of cars and people. The city never slept. I looked at the lights shining from the tall buildings, and I asked myself, what am I doing here? Can I really make it? For a moment, I thought about giving up, but then I remembered why I came. I came to work, to survive, to grow, and to learn. Still, there was one big question in front of me. I needed a job. Without a job, I could not stay in New York. Without money, dreams mean nothing. But here was the real problem. How do you find a job in a city like New York when your English is not good? And that, my friend, is where the real journey begins. Chapter 2. The Job Hunt begins. The next morning after I arrived in New York, I woke up with one clear thought in my mind. I need a job. Without a job, I could not pay my rent, I could not buy food, and I could not stay in the city for long. My savings were very small, just enough for a few weeks. I knew I had to move fast. But where do you start in a city so big, where you don't know anyone and your English is weak? That was the question I kept asking myself. So I decided to do the only thing I knew, walk. I walked through the busy streets of New York, looking at every shop, every restaurant, every small store. Whenever I saw a help wanted sign, my heart jumped. That sign meant they were hiring. But here came the challenge. I had to go inside and speak. I had to use English. And that was not easy for me. I still remember the first time I walked into a small bakery. The smell of fresh bread was strong, and the workers were moving quickly behind the counter. I went up nervously and asked in broken English, Job, you give job? The woman behind the counter looked confused for a moment. Then she smiled politely and said, oh, you mean, are we hiring? Sorry, not right now. I nodded quickly and rushed outside, embarrassed. My face turned red. I thought, I sound so silly, but I kept going. I walked into clothing shops, fast food places, and even gas stations. Sometimes people understood me, sometimes they didn't. One man laughed kindly when I said, I want to work you, instead of, I want to work with you. That was a big mistake. He corrected me gently and said, you mean you want to work here? I laughed too, even though inside I felt nervous. But later, I realized something important: mistakes are not the end of the world. Mistakes are part of learning. Let me teach you some simple phrases I wish I had practiced before job hunting. These are useful for beginners. Are you hiring? This means, do you need workers? I'm looking for work. This tells them you want a job. Do you have any job openings? Another way to ask if they have jobs. Can I fill out an application? This means you want to write your information for the job. These short sentences are powerful. If you memorize them, you can walk into any shop and ask with more confidence than I had on my first days. After many rejections, I started to feel tired. Walking all day in New York is not easy. The city is big, and my legs hurt from all the walking. Each time someone said, "Sorry, we're not hiring," my heart sank a little. But then I reminded myself, this is normal. Nobody gets a job on the first try. You have to keep going. One embarrassing moment I still laugh about happened in a small pizza shop. I walked in and asked, "You hungry?" instead of, "Are you hiring?" The man behind the counter laughed so hard. He thought I was offering him food. I quickly corrected myself. "No, no, job. Work. I want work." He smiled and said, "Not hiring, my friend, but good luck." That day, I learned the importance of clear pronunciation. One wrong word can completely change the meaning. Days passed, and my hope started to fade. Every night, I returned to my small room, tired and worried. My money was going down fast, and I was scared. But I refused to give up. I told myself, tomorrow I will try again. And that is something I want you to remember. Job hunting, just like learning English, takes patience. You may fail many times, but each failure brings you closer to success. Finally, one afternoon, after days of searching, I walked into a small restaurant. I asked nervously, "Are you hiring?" This time, the manager didn't say no. Instead, he said, "Leave your phone number. We'll call you." My heart jumped. It was the first time someone didn't reject me immediately. I walked out of that place smiling, hopeful again. A few days later, my phone rang. It was the manager from the restaurant. He said, "Can you come for an interview tomorrow?" For a moment, I couldn't believe it. I finally had a chance. My first interview in New York. I was happy, I was excited, and I was proud of myself. But at the same time, fear entered my heart again. The interview would be in English, and my English was still not good. Chapter 3. The First Interview. The night before my first interview in New York, I could hardly sleep. I lay in my small bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart racing. My mind was full of questions. What will they ask me? Will I understand their English? Will I freeze and forget everything? I kept repeating simple sentences to myself again and again. I whispered, "My name is, I am from, I want to work here." It was like I was studying for an exam, but the exam was life itself. When the morning came, I woke up early and put on my cleanest shirt. It wasn't fancy, but it was the best I had. I looked in the mirror and tried to smile, but my hands were shaking. That is what it feels like to be nervous. Nervous means your body is not calm because you are worried about what will happen. And believe me, I was very nervous that day. I walked to the restaurant where the interview was scheduled. The closer I got, the faster my heart beat. My stomach felt tight, like there were hundreds of butterflies flying inside. I walked in, and the manager asked me to sit down. He had a friendly smile, but his English sounded fast, and I had to focus very hard to catch his words. He started with a simple question. "Tell me about yourself." For most people, this is easy. But for me, it felt like a mountain. I took a deep breath and said slowly, "My name is Ali. I come from Pakistan. I want job. I work hard." He nodded politely. My English was broken, but at least I had answered. Later, I learned a better way to answer. "My name is Ali. I am from Pakistan. I am hardworking, and I am looking for a job in your restaurant." Simple, clear, and correct. The next question he asked was, "Why do you want this job?" My brain froze for a second. I wanted to say, "Because I need money to live," but I knew that didn't sound good. So I quickly said, "I like work. I want learn. I want help." My grammar was wrong, but he seemed to understand. A better answer could have been, "I want this job because I enjoy working with people and I want to learn new skills." That is polite and shows motivation. At one point, the manager asked me, "Do you have any experience?" I panicked. I thought he said, "Do you have any expensive?" My eyes went wide, and I said, "No, I don't have expensive." He laughed a little, and when I realized my mistake, I laughed too. That moment broke the tension. Even though it was embarrassing, it also made the interview feel more human. Mistakes can make people smile, and sometimes they can even help you connect. The manager asked me one final question. "Can you work evenings and weekends?" I quickly answered, "Yes, I can work all the time." I wanted him to know I was ready, even if I didn't fully understand the schedule. Later, I realized it's important to be honest about your time. But in that moment, I just wanted to show I was willing to do anything. Let me stop here for a moment and teach you some common interview questions you may hear, along with simple answers you can use. Tell me about yourself. "My name is Ali. I am from Pakistan. I am hardworking and want to learn." "Why do you want this job?" "I want this job because I like working with people and I want to improve my skills." "Do you have experience?" "I don't have much experience, but I am ready to learn and work hard." "Can you work weekends?" "Yes, I can work weekends." These short answers are enough for beginners. You don't need perfect grammar. You just need confidence and honesty. After about 15 minutes, the manager looked at me. He paused, then said the words I was waiting to hear. "Okay, we will give you a chance. You can start next week." My heart exploded with joy. I had done it. I had survived my first interview, even with my broken English. I felt like I had climbed a mountain and reached the top. I walked out of the restaurant with a big smile. The streets of New York looked different that day. The same tall buildings, the same busy people, but now I felt like I belonged just a little bit more. I had a job. I was no longer just a stranger in the city. But deep inside, I knew the story was not over. Getting the job was one thing. Doing the job was another. I had no idea what challenges were waiting for me. I got the job, but I had no idea what was waiting for me. Chapter 4. The first day at work, the day finally came. My first day at work in New York. I woke up early, even before the sun had risen, because I could not sleep much the night before. My mind was full of questions. What will the restaurant be like? Will I understand what they say? Will I make mistakes? I put on my clean shirt and shoes, and with shaky hands, I left my small room. My heart was beating faster than usual, but there was also a smile on my face. I was excited. When I arrived at the restaurant, the smell of food welcomed me before I even stepped inside. It was a small but busy place, with tables close to each other and the sound of plates and glasses everywhere. The kitchen was loud chefs shouting orders, pans hitting the stove, and the noise of boiling water. At the counter, I saw people waiting for their food. This was my new workplace. The manager greeted me quickly. He was a tall man with a strong voice. "Welcome," he said, and then gave me something. It was a shirt and a cap. "This is your uniform," he explained. "And that is our first word today. Uniform. A uniform is special clothing workers wear, so customers know who they are." I changed into my new uniform, and suddenly, I felt like I was part of the team. The manager showed me the schedule for the week. Schedule means the plan of when you work. I saw my name written on the paper. Monday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Tuesday, off. Wednesday, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. I looked at it again and again, trying to understand. For me, it was more than just paper. It was proof that I had a job in New York. As I started, I met my coworkers. That is another important word. Coworkers means the people who work with you. They were from different countries: Mexico, China, India, Dominican Republic. Each one spoke English with a different accent. At first, this confused me. Sometimes I didn't understand my manager, and sometimes I didn't understand my coworkers. I felt lost in the sea of voices. But I noticed something. Even though everyone spoke differently, they all tried to help me. They smiled, pointed, and used simple words. Slowly, I began to feel less afraid. Then came my first real challenge, serving my first customer. A customer is the person who buys food or services. The customer ordered something quickly, and I did not understand. I froze for a moment. The manager came over and repeated the order slowly. "One chicken sandwich, no onions." I nodded and repeated, "One chicken sandwich, no onions." The customer smiled, but inside, I was shaking. I thought, what if I get it wrong? And yes, soon I made my first mistake. A coworker told me, "Take the order to table 6." But I thought he said, "Take order 6." So I took the wrong food to the wrong table. The customers looked at me with confusion. My face burned red with embarrassment. I quickly apologized, "Sorry, sorry," and rushed back. My manager corrected me, and I felt so small. For a moment, I thought I was not ready for this job. But then something surprising happened. Instead of shouting at me, my manager said, "It's okay. Mistakes happen. Just listen carefully next time." My coworkers smiled and said, "Don't worry, we all made mistakes on our first day." That kindness gave me strength. As the hours passed, I slowly got better. I started to learn the system. I repeated orders in my head, I listened carefully, and I asked for help when I didn't understand. Every time I got something right, I felt proud. Every time I made a mistake, I learned. By the end of the day, my legs were tired, my back was sore, and my hands smelled like food. But inside, my heart was full of hope. That night, when I walked home, I thought about everything: the loud kitchen, the fast English, the mistakes, the smiles, the feeling of wearing a uniform, and the pride of serving my first customer. I realized something very important. I did not need to be perfect. I only needed to be confident. Confidence means believing in yourself even when you are not perfect. That day, I learned that confidence is more important than perfection. Chapter 5. Learning and growing weeks passed, and slowly, life at the restaurant began to feel less like a storm and more like a rhythm. On my first day, everything had felt impossible: voices too fast, orders too confusing, mistakes too embarrassing. But after a few weeks, something had changed. The same workplace that once scared me now felt a little like home. My English was not perfect, but it was better. My work was not easy, but it was easier. I started noticing small improvements every day. At first, I could not understand when customers spoke quickly, but now I was catching words and phrases. Instead of panicking, I listened carefully, repeated the words in my head, and answered with short, simple sentences. When a customer said, "Can I get a soda with no ice?" I quickly repeated, "One soda, no ice." This technique of repeating phrases made me more confident. I also began to observe people. Observation became my secret teacher. I watched how my coworkers moved, how they spoke, and how they handled customers. When they greeted someone with, "How are you today?" I copied the same line the next time I served a customer. When I heard a coworker say, "Here's your order. Enjoy your meal," I practiced it in my mind and then used it. This method is called shadowing, listening carefully, and repeating what you hear. Shadowing helped me learn natural English at work. Another strategy I used was asking simple questions. Whenever I didn't understand, I asked short, clear things like, "Can you say again?" or "What does this mean?" At first, I was shy, afraid people would think I was slow. But I realized something. Asking questions made people respect me more. It showed I wanted to learn. And most of the time, my coworkers explained with patience. I also learned the power of body language. Sometimes words failed me, but my hands and face spoke for me. A smile, a nod, or pointing at an item on the menu helped me survive many confusing situations. Body language is an international language. When English stopped working, my smile became my tool. One day, something happened that became a turning point for me. I was serving a middle-aged man at table 4. He ordered politely, and I repeated his order just as I had learned from watching my coworkers. When I brought his food, I placed it carefully and said, "Here is your order, sir. Enjoy your meal." He looked at me with surprise and said, "Wow, your English is good." I froze. Did he really say that? My heart jumped with happiness. Until that moment, I had only been focusing on my mistakes. I had been thinking about my broken grammar, my strange accent, and my nervous voice. But here was a customer telling me something different. He noticed my progress. He noticed my effort. That small compliment felt like a medal of gold. It gave me energy to keep learning, to keep practicing, and to keep growing. The same week, my manager also noticed me. After I managed a busy lunch shift without mistakes, he said, "Good job today." Just 2 words, "good job," but for me, they were powerful. They meant I was improving. They meant I belonged. With every compliment, with every new phrase I learned, my confidence grew. I stopped being afraid of speaking. Even if my English was not perfect, I spoke anyway. I realized that customers did not care about my grammar. They cared about my kindness and effort. Coworkers did not care about my accent. They cared that I worked hard and helped the team. I also started to teach myself outside of work. At night, I would write down new phrases I heard during the day. Words like receipt, tip, special, discount, busy shift. I repeated them before sleeping, and the next day, I tried to use them. Each word was like a brick, and every day I was building a stronger wall of English in my mind. The confusion of the first day was slowly disappearing. I still made mistakes, yes, but I no longer felt broken when I made them. Instead, I laughed, learned, and moved forward. Mistakes were not enemies anymore, they were teachers in disguise. Looking back, I realized I had grown not only in English, but also as a person. I had learned to be patient with myself, to accept my weaknesses, and to celebrate my small victories. Each day at work was teaching me more than just vocabulary. It was teaching me courage, humility, and perseverance. By the end of those first weeks, I could greet customers confidently, understand my manager's instructions, and even joke with some coworkers. I was not the same nervous person who had walked into the restaurant on the first day. I was stronger. But as I walked home one evening, tired yet proud, I smiled and thought, the biggest lesson I learned was not about English. It was about life. Chapter 6. The Big Lesson of My First Job. When I first came to New York, I thought the job was only about survival. I needed money to pay rent, to buy food, and to support myself. That was the reason I worked long hours and pushed myself every day. But later, I understood something much bigger. That first job was not just about money, it was about growth. It was about building myself step by step into a stronger and more confident person. The job taught me discipline. Every day, I had to wake up early, even when I was tired, even when I wanted to stay in bed. The city outside was noisy and busy, and my body often begged for rest. But the job reminded me, if you want to build a life, you must show up. Discipline is not about feeling ready. It is about showing up even when you don't feel like it. In that restaurant, I learned to value time, to respect schedules, and to keep promises. The job also taught me patience. At first, I wanted everything fast, fast English, fast success, fast money. But New York taught me that real growth takes time. I could not become fluent in one day. I could not master my work in one week. I had to wait, listen, practice, and slowly improve. Some days were frustrating. Some days I felt like I was stuck in the same place. But later, when I look back, I saw that every small effort, every single day, was shaping me. Patience became my silent teacher. And most of all, the job taught me courage. Courage to face people when I did not know the language. Courage to keep speaking even when I made mistakes. Courage to walk into a crowded restaurant with hundreds of customers and still try my best. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is walking forward with fear still in your heart. Every shift at work became a test of courage, and every mistake became a lesson. For English learners, this lesson is very important. Many people wait until their English is perfect before they start something. They wait before they speak. They wait before they apply for jobs. They wait before they live their dream. But let me tell you this, if I had waited for perfect English, I would still be waiting today. My English grew because I used it, because I practiced it at work, because I made mistakes and learned from them. So if you are learning English, remember these simple phrases. Don't be afraid. Fear will never leave completely, but you can act anyway. Keep trying. Every attempt makes you stronger. Mistakes are teachers. Without mistakes, you cannot grow. These phrases became my guide. Whenever I felt small or weak, I repeated them in my mind. They gave me energy to keep going. One day, after several months, I sat in the restaurant during a break and looked around. I saw the busy tables, the customers smiling, my coworkers laughing, the manager giving instructions. And then it hit me. This job had become the foundation of everything. It was not just about serving food. It was about building a life in a new country. It was about learning English in real situations. It was about discovering who I really was. That realization was a spike moment for me. I felt proud, I felt grateful, and I felt strong. My first job in New York was like a classroom, but not with books, it was a classroom of life. Every challenge had been a lesson. Every mistake had been a teacher. Every small victory had been a step forward. And this is the message I want to give you. No matter where you are, no matter how broken your English is, take your first step. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for fear to disappear. Start small, but start today. That first step will lead you to the next, and soon you will look back and see how far you have come. When I think about my first job now, I smile. It was not glamorous, it was not easy, and it was not perfect, but it shaped me. It gave me confidence. It gave me discipline, patience, and courage. And it taught me that life is not about avoiding mistakes, it's about learning from them. So, if you are watching this and dreaming of your own journey, remember my story. Your first step may feel scary, but it may also become the foundation for everything that comes later. Trust yourself, take action, and keep growing. Because at the end of the day, the big lesson of my first job in New York was simple. Confidence is more important than perfection, and growth begins the moment you start. If this video helped you, make sure to click that like button. It really supports the channel and helps more learners like you find these simple English lessons. Also, don't keep this story to yourself. Share it with a friend or family member who is also learning English. Maybe your story can inspire them too. And of course, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next lesson or story. I post easy, motivational, and practical English learning content just for you. Now, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me, what was your first job? Or if you haven't had one yet, what kind of job do you dream about? Your story matters, and I would love to read it. Who knows? Your comment might inspire another learner watching this video right now. So don't be shy, share your thoughts, and let's grow together as a community of English learners.